Good day, and welcome back to Spartan Entertainment and Electronics. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm back today with another review. Today, we are jumping into the DC comic adaptation, Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, from Warner Brothers Pictures. The production crew of this film I am not super familiar with personally. They include writer Christina Hodson, who also wrote the script for Transformers spin-off Bumblebee, director Kathy Yan, whose other credits I am not familiar with but include Dead Pigs and an assortment of short films. The producers involved featured Sue Kroll, executive producer from A Star Is Born, Brian Unclis, who is behind I, Tonya and the Hunger Games series, and Margot Robbie, whose producer resume is almost as lengthy as her acting credits, having produced I, Tonya, Terminal, and Dollface.
Who are you guys?
Starring in Birds of Prey is Margot Robbie, from Suicide Squad, I, Tonya, and Terminal, as Harley Quinn. Rosie Perez, from The Cleveland Show and Bounty Hunters, as Renee Montoya. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, from Gemini Man, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, as Huntress. Journey Smollett, from True Blood and Parenthood, as Black Canary, and Ian McGregor, from the Star Wars prequel trilogy, The Island and Angels and Demons, as the villain Black Mask. Birds of Prey landed in theaters February 7th, 2020, and grossed $201 million worldwide before leaving theaters due to the world pandemic. It had a budget of $84.5 million US. Comparatively for the budget, if we look at Suicide Squad, which had a budget of around $175 million US, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice had an estimated budget of $250 million US, or Avengers Endgame, whose estimated budget was $356 million US. Let me know in the comments what you think of the significantly smaller budget for this movie compared to other comic ensemble adaptation movies. It had an early digital release on March 24th, 2020, followed by a physical copy release on May 21st, 2020. I picked up a physical copy. Before we fly into the rest of this review, if you could take a minute and hit that subscribe button and use that bell to turn on the notifications, I would really appreciate it. If you like this review at the end, please smash that thumbs up button and share it with your friends or someone you think might enjoy it. Overall, I think the casting was really well done. I was impressed with the selection, who, for what they had to work with, did a fantastic job.
You know what a Harley Quinn is? A Harley Quinn's role is to serve. It's nothing without a master. No one gives two shits who we are beyond that.
Unfortunately, they didn't have a whole lot to work with, as the script was a little lacking. The character development was okay, but I think Christina Hodson left a lot on the table that could have been reworked or improved, like the role of Renee Montoya. It was developed to be a walking cliche, however, this wasn't well executed as it tried too hard to meet that. The role ended up feeling of a forced walking 80s cop show. It had a lot of potential to be fantastic, but it just missed the mark by trying to push what they wanted the role to be. Another character that could have used with some reworking is Huntress. The attempt was to be this awkward, serious individual that came off as trying to be comedic relief while taking life way too seriously. Again, it just seemed to be a little out of place and could have gone with maybe focusing more on situational irony instead of awkward. The development of Harley Quinn, Black Canary, and Black Mask was satisfactory. Black Mask was a little over the top, but not so much as to be unenjoyable. The story overall was pretty good. It was chaotic, but given the main hero in this film, that makes perfect sense and was an appreciated decision. Fortunately, there was organization within, and the flow went appropriately along with what I know of the DC Entertainment Universe and comics of the featured characters. The story was largely over the top, but it seemed to be intentional, and for the most part, it really worked for me. Again, with Harley Quinn being the primary focus, this makes sense. The audio selection was fantastic. There were some fabulous song selections like Black Betty. I love that song. The music did an excellent job in helping to set the mood and the pacing of the movie, and 98% of the time it fit in with the scene perfectly. As far as the development of the scenes and environments, an exceptionally large portion of this was very well done. Harley's apartment looks like what I would expect from that character. The police precinct fit in with what I would expect a Gotham PD to look like. I appreciate that they went back to Suicide Squad and reused the chemical plant to some extent. It helped to tie the DCEU together, or at least these two properties. The connection between properties is something that the DC Entertainment Universe needs to sort out and improve upon if they have any hope of having the success that Marvel has had. The direct connection between Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad is a great start. I appreciate the Matrix-style fight scene and the use of water and slow-mo. It was a lot of fun for me. If you have been watching my reviews for a little while now, you may know I'm a sucker for slow-mo.
I'm the one they should be scared of. Not you. Not Mr. J.
There were parts that didn't make sense, however, like why would Harley take the minivan over the BMW? It was pointed out to me that there was an overarching plot of Harley taking on a more motherly role, so in that sense, the minivan makes more sense and ties in with that overarch. What do you think, minivan or BMW? Also, at no point in the evidence room were there any signs of a way to get vehicles in or out, something that probably could have been handled with a small edit, adding an overhead door that just would have eliminated a potential plot hole.
Oh, you're that psycho chick.
I never call a woman a chick. I'll accept broad, lady, woman, and on occasion, bitch.
Bitch? What are you talking
Hold that
about?
for me, will you?
There were also a couple of times that it was painfully obvious that a stunt actor was in place of the role actor. This could have been handled in a fun way by utilizing the fourth wall breaks and comedic palette within those to address it Deadpool style. Instead, it is just bad editing, ultimately hurting the finished product. Speaking of the fourth wall breaks, it seems like they are just trying to capitalize on what worked for the Deadpool movies instead of making their own thing. The two characters, being Harley Quinn and Deadpool, are very similar in a lot of ways, but what works for one can't be copied and pasted for the other. As much as I enjoyed the wall breaks, they seemed like a mimicry instead of developing its own identity with that tool.
Who's having a good time?
Visual effects were plenty in this film, and I was 90% okay with that, as all of the explosions and most of the CG looked great. My only complaint with this work was the hyena. It just didn't look right. Considering everything else looked so good, this was disappointing. There was one explosion that was particularly satisfying, but I can't talk about that without dropping spoilers. Birds of Prey did a great and natural job of being female-positive film and avoided being in-your-face or obnoxious about it. It was also appreciated that it avoided overtly sexualizing any of the characters. It treated the female characters as people and not meat. More movies could do to go with that approach. Additionally, the DCEU needs to take a step back and have a look at the difference between what their successful female-led properties like Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman are doing, that their other properties are not. I'm looking at you, Justice League. We'll see if the Zack Snyder cut saves it. I don't think it will. Credit can also be given, as the film was able to blatantly poke fun at itself without taking away from the movie at all. I have added this Blu-ray to my collection and have no regrets about doing so, as this is a fun movie that is trying to find its way. There are elements that need to be cleaned up for the rumored sequel, like the script and character profiles, but there are elements that need to be kept going in the same direction, like the Harley Quinn humor and female positivity in a very tasteful and artistic way. It hasn't found its way yet, but it's a great step in the right direction. It's not a smash hit, but it's definitely a hit. So for that, I will give Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn a 7 out of 10. Let's discuss in the comments. What do you think of Birds of Prey? What do you think of the current state of the DCEU? Any DC properties you want to see turned into a movie? If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to turn on notifications. If you feel so inclined, hit that like button and share this review with someone you think might enjoy it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.